Welcome to the Body Science Podcast. As always, the information contained in this podcast is for the information purposes only and is not designed to diagnose or be prescriptive to treat, prevent, or manage any injury, disease, or other health-related condition.
Welcome to Body Science HQ, the world of fit, happy, healthy, and I've got the dream team with me today. I've got Big Mark, our dietitian, who's going to sit here and probably be, I don't know, Mark, we've got some pretty heavy people with us here. Let's go. We've got Chloe, Head of Marketing for Body Science. Now, you don't just walk in and take that job, especially working with me and Nathan. I apologise right now, Chloe, before we go any further. I just want to say sorry for being part of me and Nathan's life in that space.
That's on the record.
Yeah. And we've got Cods. We've got Katie with us who runs our digital. So we thought this would be a really cool space to talk about collaborations, brand partnerships and influencer marketing. And obviously, Mark, people might be wondering, why is a dietitian sitting on this thing? You yourself have been the face of many things. You, after winning your world title in fitness, you obviously had a body people wanted to put on stuff. What was it like back then? Like we're talking 2013, then like the rise of this has come in a lot more heavily recently. And like you look at old waterfall marketing concepts and the way we used to roll a marketing plan out to what we do now and being so agile and killing a lot of personalities and brain space with changing really quickly and things pop up this week and what do we do next week? And that's driven by the Codys of the world, which makes old men like me age quicker. What did you think? Like you've been on the front of books and you've been that person. What was it like for you back then?
Yeah, thanks. There was like an era where magazines, hard copy magazines, was still a big thing. And so yeah, I guess the marketing and advertising was hard copy focused more than the digital world. And there
you just want to explain to Katie what a magazine is? You may not have seen one before.
So we would walk into a news agency and there'd be
so they actually cut trees down to make these, Cody.
Yeah, and it was super exciting to see myself on the cover of his magazine.
You've been on some big mags too.
Yeah, big mags like around the world, which is super exciting. America and South Africa, where I grew up, and Australia, and it started as editorials within, like using nutrition knowledge and training knowledge inside, and then it turned into covers. And then as that started to fade away, I found books and connected with authors. And
because you're on the front of a lot of what type of books are we talking here?
Yeah, this is like romance novels.
Good word. That's the word I was looking for too.
Yeah, romance novels.
I've seen the pictures of you on that. You look really good.
Thank you. Yeah. This the dress you sort of the photographer knows what the author's looking for and will kind of put me into character with outfits and with emotions that I've got to try and show with the face to try and match that character, whether it be a college boy footy player in America or whether it be a lawyer or school teacher or what it needs to be. So yeah, it's
before I step into some real stuff. What was the sexiest version of Mark? Which was it? Was it the lawyer?
It's the Hot Summer School Nights.
Oh, yeah. What's that book?
Yeah, that was the teacher. Yeah. And so amazingly, books are still a huge industry. When there's an expo for hard copy books, the people still turn up.
You disappear. Cool. I sign your leave forms for those regularly.
Yeah.
Chloe, when did the world change from like that's a paid ambassador on the front of a magazine, which sort of was the beginning of this, like associating yourself with Mark in that space, to true hardcore collabs?
Oh, that's a big question. I think collabs have been around for a long time. They've probably evolved a lot in recent times. So, your traditional brand-to-brand collabs versus, I guess, where you're heading, where we're seeing now is some of the more brand-to-personality collabs or, say, influencer brands, if you like, almost launching themselves off the back of another brand or in conjunction with another brand.
Or off the back of their personal brand,
Yeah.
And why is the personal growth of these influencers so important to brands? Cody, that's probably more you than anything because, I don't know, I see through a lot of that, but I'm old. Everyone knows that. But from your perspective, why is that so important to you? Why is it so important to see Beyonce do something with someone?
I think relevance. I mean, so
it's got to be authentic.
Authentic. For example, like Rihanna.
Yep.
She's been around for quite a few years. not as old as you guys, but she's been around.
What's Cody, 23?
She's been around for a while, but she continuously does brand collaborations, or she has launched a brand off the back of her personal brand that has had a huge success, and she's staying relevant within different audiences. So yeah, I just guess it's ensuring you're speaking to the right audience and staying relevant.
Brands like Peter Alexander kind of do that similarly from a product perspective, right? So they are a brand in themselves and an aspirational brand for a lot of people, but then they're collabing with these often nostalgic and a lot of the times fun brands to make sure they are staying relevant in the moment, and whether it's pop culture, whether it's talking to a new audience, or, you know, the Macca's collab versus, say, a Disney collab or a Paddle Pops collab. A lot of that is, you know, it's broadly exciting for people, but it's also making sure you're staying fun and vibrant. You're throwing back to, you know, young fun days for people that pajamas are probably predominantly quite a boring thing, but they find a way to stay in the moment, stay relevant, stay exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on Peter Alexander, he was quite an influencer himself before he did his brand, wasn't he? Like it's an interesting when you look at the story of how some of these things evolve, that the influencer becomes a brand, which then looks for the influence from new people within their own brand. Do you think that'll ever stop?
No, if anything, I think it is going to be critical for the ongoing relevance and success of various brands and really established brands to stay in the moment when the market gets noisier with emerging brands, or like you say, with personal brands. So I think use of the word brand is very broad these days, and then the application of that. But to your point, a person can move from an individual brand into a product. And now most people would think Peter Alexander synonymous with a product as opposed to a person. So there's probably an evolution of a brand and a company.
Cody, what do you think of like someone like Body Science, 25 years old? Do you think, and I know you play in this space and you do a lot in this space, do you think it's really important who we associate with our brand in that space?
Absolutely. I think...
Like, say you just got given the ultimate check. Would you just go get someone that got the numbers you needed, or would you still look for all these authentic, like say, I'll use Beyonce again, or Rihanna, whoever you want to talk about. Say, Elle McPherson, whatever. Say we had the money to go grab one of those people.
Yeah.
And I'm seriously like, if you had that, they're not associated with the brand at all, but you could obviously put campaigns together all day long around that. Would you, as one of my favorite Gen Zers at BSc, pull that together, or would you go, no, I'm not going to do that. I still want to stay true to people that believe in what our ethos is and our vision and a purpose as a brand?
Yeah, look, when it comes to big people like that, I think it's really important to stay authentic to the brand. I don't think it matters about budget, because at the end of the day, you can see through that. You know, you look at big brands where people just get the check and they've been given brand deals just to, you know, market a product, but you can see through that. Through and through. It doesn't show in sales, it doesn't show in engagement, etc. Like, I think brand authenticity and someone that really loves the brand or enjoys the products shines through and through, like, versus just a paycheck.
I guess if you think about an example of like how that could be applied, the absolute groundswell off the back of the Matildas last year.
Yeah.
If the Matildas were just paid to endorse a product, in my opinion, that's going to be nowhere near as powerful as if you worked with the Matildas to create their own, say, range of BSc bars or products, and there was a flavor that was relevant to every player on that team. That's going to be so much more powerful. People actually want to be in that moment and consuming the same products as the people that they look up to. And that's where I think it stops being an endorsement and starts being a collaboration.
Yep.
And I think those are two quite different things.
It's a big difference, isn't it? Yeah. And can you tell the difference traditionally, Cody?
Between a brand collaboration and
an endorsement.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at traditionally, like over the years, like let's use some of the Kardashians, for example. They've been paid big bucks to endorse these silly products like that you would probably go against, you know, a lot of diet culture.
I thought you were going to say which he would buy.
No, it's like coming into diet culture across the years, you know, people would look back at that and be like, you know, that was just for the money. You know, back then they wouldn't endorse that now. Like it shines through.
They would regret it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like, were you a lot of shoe collabs? Like, that's a really cool, popular thing that's happening at the moment. Would you go buy a shoe because of a collab, or would you just buy a shoe because you need a shoe? Or would you buy a shoe to your budget? Like, how does life work for you three in this space?
Oh, look,
we got some different ages here too.
I've got my Jordan Nikes on. These are the Jordan Stadium. So it's the mixture of the Air Jordan 1 and 6.
You know, you're not getting paid.
Let's go back to Jordan. Like, everyone's seen the movie recently, so you all got a fair idea of how it went down and what it is. Would you today call that a collab, Cody, or would you call that endorsement? Because obviously it's a straight out endorsement. He gets a share of profit. There's a whole lot of things in that. But do you think a lot of these collabs are packaged up to be less corporate by calling them a collab?
I think that's a hard one because I guess the Jordan brand, like they market it as his brand, but a lot of people look at that and they don't actually realize that it is the Jordan brand is Michael Jordan's brand.
And you're talking about authentic, and like he's doing golf shoes now. What do you think about that type of thing as a Gen Zer?
I mean, that doesn't really play into something that I'm interested in.
But does it make you think differently about the Jordan brand as a whole?
No. I think it's a shoe. He's still playing in sports. It's probably authentic to him.
He probably plays a lot of golf. When you think about
exactly.
It.
So it's probably authentic to his brand. Makes sense for him.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, he does play a lot of golf. That's right. Hey, in the documentaries we saw that, but like it's so for me, it's added value to Nike. Like having people like Federer, Tiger Woods, Jordan, and then having their logo brought into Nike for so many years, and now unfortunately when Federer left Nike and then Tiger Woods has left, to me that's put a dampener now on the brand of Nike. So for me it's played a huge role because I guess those guys were heroes to me in sport. So it's now it's left a bit of a hole at the moment with Nike not having those guys for me.
So are you as influenced by brand to brand collabs because I'm hearing a lot of the conversation is around brand versus personality or plus personality, which is an interesting kind of collab angle. But if you think of, say, where we're at right now with Violet Crumble, and you think of the other, say, Shapes and Vegemite or Cadbury and Woolies Hot Cross Buns or whichever retailer it was, that's kind of different, right? Yeah. And it's a different level of purchasing as well. Say a few $100 pair of shoes versus a $5 to $50 supermarket product.
Yeah.
Does the collab impact you differently being brand and being at that level?
You both eat a lot of protein bars or enough of them because you're both very active, and obviously, Mark, you live in a protein jar. Does a Violet Crumble protein concept excite you more than just a normal protein concept?
Yeah, from my side, probably personally, it's been more, like you said, the personal collab more than the brand. Still maybe getting there with the brand to brand collab. This totally excites me from a point of view from a eye-catching packaging, an experience that makes me want to try it for sure. But as far as me being an avid protein consumer, it probably doesn't add extra excitement to that because I already consumed always protein bar. But I think for the new market, for someone who's maybe not as historically consistently been consuming protein, this would attract them more. Yeah.
That's interesting.
What do you think?
So you reckon it's more about gaining a new audience versus re-engaging your current audience?
I see it that way. Yeah.
See, I think the kick of this will be the re-engaging, and then the new audience will come with time on that. It's, it's like when you're eating protein, it can become, if you're macro driven, like a lot of your diet plans are, and the people you deal with and the athletes you're living with, it is a chore to find protein in your diet. I think things like this give you that little wow factor that make you think, oh my God, I can have an almost chocolate bar and I'm getting nearly 20 grams of protein. But from a perspective of, for me, let's talk about like ice creams and that. If I shop with Taj, he is, so-and-so's collabing with so-and-so on this flavor. Let's go and get that. I'm like, okay, let's just get the ice cream that's at the first door that we open up and grab the one that's got the nicest color at the time that I pull out. It's a really interesting space. Yeah, well, I don't mind a bit of vanilla. What about yourself, Katie?
I'm actually a cookies and cream girl.
You're a cookies and cream girl. Yeah, it's really interesting. And stepping back to that Nike question with Jordan and going to golf shoes, and I want to ask you this question, Chloe. Obviously, they moved Tiger on from a strategic perspective, and I read the paper on it, and it made sense when you read deep into why they did it. And then I thought, why Jordan? But then I thought, come on, Jordans are so popular. Like the people playing, and golf is growing in popularity at the moment too. It's a consumer for consumer play straight up. You've got all these tradies that are and all these execs that are walking around the latest pair of Jordans. They're all hitting golf balls on Saturday or Sunday with their mates and playing that. And do you think that type of thing makes more sense for a brand to get out of their traditional where they normally sit by that? Do you think Nike would? Sorry, I'm asking you 20 questions in one question.
I think I can answer it.
Do you think Nike would have gone to this Jordan concept if it wasn't Jordan?
See, I think Jordan versus Tiger Woods is a bit different. So I would say Jordan has, like we were talking about with Peter Alexander, become a brand in itself.
Yeah.
I think it's no longer just a
Massive.
person.
Yeah.
So that's like almost a product extension and, like you say, almost a lifestyle piece that's expanding into a new occasion.
Yep.
Where Tiger Woods, I would see that still very much as an endorsement piece versus a collab.
Yep.
Or if you're thinking in the same vein, if you think about the Nike Dunks and the 7-Eleven. So that's brand to brand. Is that a similar sort of thing to a Jordan moving into a new space, or is it totally different again?
Yep.
I mean, I think you're encroaching into a brand space, and that's probably quite powerful to reach a new consumer audience, I'd say separated from an individual.
It's so interesting because golf has now got the breakaway tour with the Live Tour, and it's a lot more fun and exciting and lively, and it's got a bit of that gangster vibe to it, like basketball. So I actually think it's like perfect timing to now start to bring in the Jordans into, golf and basketball used to be so different. Now they're joining a bit.
It's a cultural switch as opposed to just a product or moment piece.
Yeah. And Katie, what do you think about like we're launching our soft bar with Violet Crumble, which I'm really excited about, and I think it's really cool that an Australian brand can actually play with a bit in the sports nutrition arena and not create a fake flavour that sounds like a collab. What do you think from a perspective of? And I mean, obviously, I'm going to ask Chloe this question too because she's going to go to a different level on this. What do you think about the platform that we choose? Or at least it chose did that we choose to launch these types of concepts? Is that really important? Do you spend a lot of time on that leading into the launch of the VC?
Absolutely. I think it's really important that we touch all areas. I mean, digital obviously is a really strong one. I mean, Australia's Violet Crumble has been around for years now, right? So not saying that, they're a really big brand, but they may not be massive on digital, but it's brought this, when we announced it across our digital, it brought this excitement from a young to older demographic in our brand because it brings out that element of taste and nostalgia, I guess. Yeah. And, I'm really excited for the soft bars to launch, but I'm really driven towards that flavour, specifically the chocolate honeycomb with Violet Crumble. I think the packaging is fun. It's exciting that we're launching with the brand.
And in your planning for the soft protein bar launch, a lot of people probably don't know this, that it's actually a new technology out of Europe. It's not available in Australia. It's a different protein to what's normally used in a protein bar. So there's a lot of tech, and obviously being with Humble Group, we were able to grab that tech and bring it back and go to market quickly. And you're talking an advanced type of protein bar here as far as from a perception of eating it like it's that candy-like protein bar. Yeah. What do you care about, the tech and the R&D, or just give me Violet Crumble and shut up on the other stuff, Greg?
Me specifically, I find the technology really interesting. I think, how a product's made, even seeing like behind the scenes of how a product is made gives you a whole new foundation for understanding. And it brings...
you saw the video, did you think a protein bar was made like that?
No, but I find it so interesting and so engaging. Like it's, not everyone gets to see that sort of stuff, So you're not in a lab or manufacturing bar plant every day. So to be able to see that is really cool.
Yeah.
But, taste obviously is the biggest standing point for me.
And what about for you, Chloe, where you've got to own the brand and drive the product? I mean, obviously you've got a lot of KPIs as being a head of marketing. There's a lot of heavy KPIs that sit on your shoulders. What's the important part for you here?
In terms of the sale of the product or where we start talking about it?
The tech, the collab, the product, the 25-year celebration that brought this all together. Like, what is it where do you sit in that space when you've got to work out where we spend our money and our time and where our ROI is coming from?
Ultimately, I think it comes down to what you're trying to achieve with the collab, right? Is it about the sales? Is it about the brand awareness? Yep. Is it about the engagement with the consumer? This one's super unique in that it's probably a combination of all three.
Yep.
I would say we have to think first about who's the consumer, where are they existing, and what do they want to hear about?
Yep.
Number one, I think it comes down to the eating experience. Like you mentioned before, it's kind of hard to get protein and fun and exciting and enjoyable ways into your diet. It becomes a little bit mundane. So I think the combination of flavor and new textural experience of the bar, awesome. We have to nail that first. And we have to be able to place the marketing in channels and arenas where we can actually communicate that.
Yep.
So obviously getting the bars into people's people's hands and mouths. Critical. Content that we produce needs to show what that's going to taste like. You need to taste it while you're watching or seeing what it is. And then I guess to what Cody was saying before, is as a broad demographic of people that would be interested in something like this, from your hardcore everyday protein consumers who are looking for something delicious to shake up their snacks or their dessert, right through to mum buying for a teenage son who's, at footy training and needs a top up in between school.
Did you just say son in football training?
Doesn't sound like her, does it?
No.
I mean, mine would be into it before football training for sure. So
Might have seen a picture of your little ones having a bite of that bar.
They approved. So I think we have to be able to talk to all those people in the right places. That's, the critical element of marketing these days, right? Yeah. You can't just be all in one place. You have to be talking to people wherever they want to receive your message. Yeah. And you have to give them the message that's relevant to them in that moment. So the technology side, super cool. You probably need to tell people that once they have seen the flavor, got excited about how it's going to taste, how it's going to fit into their diet, and here's all the really interesting stuff that brought this to life, and this is why it's different.
Yeah, once you've got the permission.
Yeah.
What do you, when I said we're going to do a Violet Crumble protein bar, no one said, Greg, that's a stupid idea. No, that's a candy bar. Don't do it. Why do you think that was so exciting for us as a brand?
I think it's just the treating element with the permissibility of a protein bar or something that's got the nutritional value. So it's actually adding to your day. So it's adding the fun and the enjoyment and the deliciousness, but it's also adding positive nutrition elements and finding something that hits both of those is maybe not a challenge, but it's something that we all have to try and figure out and balance daily.
Yeah. And what about you, Katie? Like a Violet Crumble, it probably wasn't your go-to chocolate bar. Am I right in saying that?
Probably not my era. But
as a kid, I grew up on Violet Crumbles. They were the best. Then those fake crunchy things come out. But you stick your tongue in those and they'd evaporate. They're pretty cool for a while. But Violet Crumble was where it was always at.
Yeah. I think it's brought it.
Did you know the chocolate bar when we talked about it?
Absolutely. Yep. I think it's a household name.
Yep.
I don't have to be consuming it every day. I mean, it's like for Australia, it's like your Vegemite, or it's just a household name. So of course I knew the name. You know
what I loved about that brand when they first approached me to say, can we do this? Is it's an Australian-owned family brand. Like I thought it was part of one of the big chocolate groups.
Yeah.
But it's sitting down there in Adelaide. Is it Adelaide? By itself doing its thing. And I just think that is absolutely cool.
Goes well with our brand.
Well, for a long time we were. We're part of the big boys now, but...
Yeah,
I guess that's why these things get offered to you, because as you grow, things grow.
What excites you as the founder?
Mate, can I tell you, I've wanted to do cool collabs for a long time. And everyone's here like, Greg, once you do collabs, you're hopeless at marketing. Once you do a collab, you're hopeless at marketing. And I'm going, because I'd be doing fake collabs and pretending I'm doing a Golden Gay Timer, or pretending I'm doing a Violet Crumble, because those companies didn't want to talk to us.
Yeah.
We spent the last 10 years hammering home mass market distribution in bars. Like that was one of our big things, is where do we see the future of sports nutrition? And I just said it's going to go single serve, easy consumption and fit a purpose. And I've always been about sport and fitness.
Yeah.
So for me, we got to the numbers where we do enough bars in Australia to warrant these brands wanting to talk to us. Like that's probably the hardest thing with a good collab is like when you sit down with Violet Crumble, it's not, hey, we love your brand, come on board, or we go, we love your brand, come on board. It's like numbers. How much are we going to do? What's it going to cost and what are they going to make out of it? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's the ugly side of it no one cares about. But this collab comes with a lot of commitment. And that's why I wanted you two to come on this podcast to talk about that, because you're part of that engine that keeps that commitment going. But from a perspective of not sounding like it's all about money, it really is. You do these things to grow both brands. And what is growing both brands mean? It means getting people on board and making dollars. You know what I mean? So we spent a lot of time making that bar taste like a Violet Crumble bar.
Yeah.
Because Violet Crumble are very protective of their IP and they want their flavors. Well, the technology of making a Violet Crumble bar is very different to the technology of making a protein bar. So there was a lot of things that we had to overcome quickly to make this come to play. And I'll be honest, Mark, you're part of that MPD process. It was really fun. I told quite a few people to get fucked during the process because you're trying to make something that A tastes like B. It's not going to happen. But in the end, I think we've nailed it.
It's innovation and like shock value for me. It's total shock value, because even the concept of bringing out a soft protein bar, as the new
Because that
protein
would have
bar.
been big in itself. If we
Yeah.
hadn't done the collab, the soft protein bar it's a new tech.
Was still innovation, but,
Yeah.
but then we collabed with Violet Crumble, which you think of as being crunchy.
Shattering.
Yeah, it's a shattering
Shattering.
thing. So how do you take a
Yeah.
soft protein bar and put a shattering flavour in it?
So I think we chose a really challenging upfront.
And, you know, I'm going to just say Violet Crumble was so good to deal with. I mean, in the and Assemble Group were the partners in the middle in that space. They were everyone's been awesome to deal with in this process. But there's been a lot of, it's not that for anyone out there looking to do collabs with people, it's not, when you're doing it with a brand, you pull a whole lot of brand guidelines and brand rules. And Chloe, you can probably go on a little bit now about what that is versus when we do ambassador deals and influencer deals, you're more just jumping on something that they're good at. Do you know what I mean? Like when I think it was something like a 200-page document we had to go through for this thing to come to play. And that's the paper before you even start to make the product.
Yeah.
Why are these collabs, these true collabs where brand to brand, why are they so difficult in that space, Chloe, yet so valuable?
You got to maintain the integrity of both brands, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, I think personally, I would say a good collab is one where both parties, both brands, both whatever, are bringing something to the table that is meaningful to the consumer. Like it's not going to be successful if you've got one strong brand that's meaningful and then someone else tacking along.
Yeah.
Yep.
If even, and that's not to say it needs to be two established brands, but even if the second partner is an emerging brand, it still needs to be meaningful to the consumer. And then to be meaningful to the brands themselves, obviously, yes, there's a sales value, but you need to be kind of, whether it's borrowing credibility or excitement or something, there needs to be something in it for both brands. And then if you're going to start taking away the integrity of boring things for the everyday consumer, like brand colors and brand fonts, but they're the things that a consumer, you know, probably subconsciously associates with that brand. So you can look at that protein bar and you immediately can see the red, you can see the BSc, but you can also see the purple, you can see the Violet Crumble. You have the fonts that people know and just automatically associate with those brands. If those things aren't there, you're not, it's not paying back to both brands. So if you're going to start to drift to the wrong color, red or purple, if you're going to slightly change the font, you're sort of creating a whole new brand.
Yeah.
And it's not really serving the purpose for either one of the brand partners or the consumer.
Yeah. It was an interesting play for us too. And I know you were quite boisterous to me in the early days about that bar is borderline just hitting your brand guidelines. And I might have looked at you, winked, laughed and walked away and kept on my own journey. But
It's sunk in.
it got across. We got some red on there. You're happy.
We got it on the back.
Yeah, we got it on the back too. Like it.
Yeah.
I think it looks like a really cool, the packaging looks really good.
Yeah.
It does for sure. For sure.
I think it, and I don't think we lost any of our brand integrity by dropping a lot of our colour because our logo is so dominant in that space.
That's it. I mean, it's not the first collab I've worked on. So I've worked on a previous one with Tim Tams and Adriano Zumbo. And that's quite different to this, right? In that Adriano Zumbo is a personality, but he also has or had a chain of shops. He was also on MasterChef. He was also like an internationally known personality. And so then you've got this, it's kind of an in-between, right? It's not, say, a Tiger Woods and a Nike because it's literally just a person and a brand. There was still a level of brand guideline that had to be like utilizing his logo in the right way or him as a person in the right way, making sure the product that we were developing talked back to both brands. So all the right layers and textures and whatnot that make it Tim Tam, but the flavor experience that is true to something that Zumbo would put out.
Did you do?
Coconut cream, dark chocolate raspberry,
How did I miss those?
salted caramel, just the coconut cream, unbeatable.
That's a cool, Mark, let's write that one down. That's actually, I like that flavour. Coconut cream, that's got me. I've been New Zealand to a lot of creamy products over there. What's that, condensed cream? Is that what
Condensed milk?
everything's made with condensed milk over
reduced
there?
cream?
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah,
Reduced milk. Reduced
I don't
cream,
know.
condensed
Put on a lot
milk.
of kilos, but tasted good.
Yeah. It's going to be a hard one to keep the nutritionals in line.
And Chloe, do you think the future of BSc, now that we've cracked a collab. The Violet Crumble one will be successful. The bars already won like Bar of the Year with Nutrition Warehouse. Do you think the future for us is there's a lot of pressure on us now to stay in that space?
I think once you've established a momentum, it's really good to, maintain it and go with it and keep bringing that excitement. BSc has been a leader in both tech, texture, flavor space for a long time, so I think in its own right, BSc can still continue to innovate and be exciting. But once you've established this kind of collab space, it's really nice to build on it. And, like we talked about Peter Alexander before, this seems to be this constant, okay, what's the next cool one that's coming up? What's the next thing that's either going to throw back to my childhood or tap onto something that's really interesting that's happening in the cultural zeitgeist right now? So I don't think it is critical to the success per se, but I think it absolutely could be something super exciting and enduring for the brand for a long time.
Yeah.
I've got a question. Is it something that's got a limited lifespan? Like, is it a limited release? Like what you may have done with Tim Tam, what we see with other brands, like the shoes you're wearing, the Nike and Off-White. Is that something that's limited release and then it goes, or is this here for good? And does that add to the excitement of getting your hands on this, or which way?
I think shoes work on. There's a limited number, drop them and it's gone. Like that's with shoes,
and that's what makes you want to grab them, right?
Yeah. Plus, I'm a consumer. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a sucker for a good piece of content.
Yeah.
But going back to Soft Bars, Violet Crumble.
Yes.
The relationship there has a number on it. Based on hitting a sales target and a timeline for that. But I believe a Violet Crumble Body Science collab could exist in our brand for the next 20 years.
Yes.
I don't think it's exclusive to protein bars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't think I think we will, by working with people like them, and although they're a brand that has been like a chocolate honeycomb bar, they're getting quite innovative in what they're doing with their brand. Like, it's pretty cool where you can get the license to a Violet Crumble shirt. You could do Violet Crumble pajamas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's really cool to see these brands doing what they're doing, because I think when two brands from our perspective collab, we're always going to take that innovation to the level that we can take it to. We're always going to push it as hard as we can. And that's where I wanted to go to you with a question, Cody, because you're mid-20s? And I just want to set the scene here. Like, you're running our social digital. Do you feel the pressure? Like, we dropped 50 products last year, so you're not adverse to going to market on a newie and somehow making 50 products come up every week on the same day. I get it, it's hard, especially when there's 50 new ones.
Yeah.
On top of 150 other ones. Did you feel the pressure when we said we're going to do a soft bar, a new tech, and a Violet Crumble? Did you go, oh, this is going to be so easy because I'm going to have all these great stories and this great, the creative side of it is really simple because we can just shatter everything and make things fun? Or did you go, oh my God, there's a lot of pressure on this. This thing needs to work. If it doesn't work, that collab becomes like a major fail for our brand?
Honestly, I actually felt a little bit more pressure when we launched the cans because I think that was a big investment for us. So is these soft protein bars. However, that was completely driven by brand. That was owned by us. Yep. I think and
it was new too. We weren't known for cans.
Yeah. And I think there's a little bit less pressure in this space purely because we're known
for bars,
for protein bars, like really good protein bars. So that's the first and foremost thing. Like, our audience and our consumers are already excited purely because they know we can make a good protein bar. So I don't think I didn't feel as much pressure purely from that. I think the pressure comes off the back of ensuring that we're balancing, we've obviously launched a collaboration piece, but however, we still have our soft protein bars that are just our own flavors. Like, that's our ranging, ensuring that we balance that piece, not just driving the collaboration. So people know, like, we have ownability of the soft protein bar as well.
You know what's really interesting? This is going to make you feel good. Although you felt good about us making protein bars and being good at making protein bars, this is the first bar made out of our new plant bars production in Sydney.
They did a good job.
And the R&D comes from bars production in Sweden with Rickard and his team, who are just those guys. I've spent time with them over there. They're just so advanced. The pressure for Richard from bars production to bring this bar out. And Mark and I had lots of chats with him. And I don't know, sometimes the 1% between confident and arrogant comes out with me on the arrogant side occasionally, Cody, just occasionally. Really? That 1%. Yeah, like
would never have guessed.
Yeah, and the pressure that I had Richard under at Bars Production to make this bar,
Oh.
like I want to just throw it out to him. You guys have killed it with this bar. I mean, it's really nice to have an R&D spec come at you because that if I said make a soft bar for me from day one, he would have had a meltdown.
Yeah.
But so it was nice to have that humble group family of companies come through to see this happen. But from the perspective of you feeling really good because we make protein bars, we're known for it. This is the first one coming out of a bars production plant, which is a humble plant, and it was like the plant's pretty much just been taken over in the last 2 months. So it was a really interesting, well, you're up here going, this is great, this is awesome, we make good bars. I'm having conversations with Richard. If you don't get your shit together on this, Richard, I want pieces of honeycomb. He goes, I want pieces of honeycomb.
Well, Richard's done a good job.
Because when you look at the tech, yeah, Richard's done a great job, and I'm going to clap him in the whole way. When you look at the tech of like the big wheel, like you put up on social the other day, you got that thing squashing that sucker, and we're trying to put bits of honeycomb in it that actually are there when you bite it. Like the tech was quite difficult, and then you've got different temperatures, and everyone knows what honeycomb does when you put it in your mouth, dissolves.
Yeah.
So it was there's been a lot of work in that bar. I just want to throw out what was really interesting for you to say. It was so cool. I didn't have a lot of pressure. We make good bars, and Mark and I thinking, holy shit, we weren't sure this bar was coming to market at one stage. It was,
it's been a push.
Yeah, and I give it to Rich and his team down there at Bars Production. Great job, guys. Like, you've nailed it on your first bar with us. You just bought yourself a whole lot more pressure, though. But yeah, it's good. So, wrapping up, the future of BSc is definitely collabs.
An element of it, for sure.
Yep. Is there any products you wouldn't collab, Chloe? Like, you go put your foot down
within our range, you mean?
Or our potential products that we do, like types of things that we do or could do. Because, 6 months ago, we weren't doing cans either. So...
Yeah. I think it depends on what sort of collab you brought to the table.
Yep.
Flavour-wise, it's all pretty safe as long as the brands align and they make sense for our consumer.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's elements in our brand like our therapeutic tablets that to me don't make any sense to collab. That's where you'd go maybe endorsements. Endorsements make sense on those, but...
He's getting ideas.
Yeah. I'm going to stop talking.
Mark's sitting there going, we can't endorse a therapeutic product. Like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. So there you go. There's the answer to your question. Therapeutics are off the table. But no, otherwise I don't think so, because so much of our range is flavour driven. And it's exciting. And particularly consumers that are heavily consuming protein and supplements, they want variety. They want excitement, right? That's why... the flash in a pan kind of brands pop up, but maybe don't last that long. But they do well for a short period of time because people are excited to try something different.
Yep.
But then they revert back to the ones that they know, they love, they trust, the quality is there, etc. If you can have that within the brand that you already know and love, there's no need to, try something that's, maybe not as reliable or you're unsure about it.
Yeah. Mark, we should do a Violet Crumble protein powder collab. Oh, he's looking at me going, now, shit, can I tell people we are or not? Oh, can I?
3 flavours.
We are. I don't think we're allowed to talk about the third flavour, though.
Okay. All right.
Good.
I don't think they've launched that
We're
yet.
not talking about anything.
It's good we briefed on this just before.
Yeah, we did a lot of research working into this.
Yeah, but it is coming. That's
it is
right.
coming.
Yeah,
it's actually coming very soon, isn't it, Chloe? Once
Isn't
Mark and I say yes, we're doing it.
I'm not.
Yeah, Chloe.
It lands on
weighing
your...
in on this.
He's putting it into your
It's very, very soon.
There's
July.
July, is it? Is that in-store July or is that in our factory July?
I think we got to go out.
I'm just going to say that because that question gets asked around this office every day. Is that in-store on that date or is it in factory?
In store.
People will be tasting it in July.
In July?
Yeah.
Is it something that keeps you excited after 25 years, keeps you coming into the office?
The collab space, absolutely, yeah. Like when I got approached in this, they didn't even have to start the conversation. I said, yeah, we're in.
Yeah.
And then I just dumped it on everyone.
Yes.
And
Greg just comes into the office to hang out with us, is what he's trying to say.
seriously, I am not going to read a 200-page contract. Like, that is not when my time is valuable. And I'm not saying because I'm above it, I'm saying because I'm the wrong person.
You work to your strengths.
He can't read an email,
But
Mark.
then there was... Yeah, we'll see.
We've been through that.
If it's over 140 characters, it's not a struggle these days. But the contract, I went to the headings and there were certain headings I had to own. So I went through all that. But the whole contract, that's not my space. But the concept of doing this without knowing the pros and cons of it, I just invited it in straight away.
Yeah, no, the innovation side.
It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with, a lot of people have said to me, oh, candy bar and health products together, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, live your own life. I don't care. If that doesn't work for you, that's great. But if you want something that tastes good and it hits your macros, knock yourself out of the park.
That's what we were talking about before. The collab is so strange. Like like Crocs and Gucci.
Yeah.
Like they don't need to make sense. Like
But-
you've got high-end fashion and your everyday.
Have you got a pair of those?
Probably.
No, just the
In the
standard
mail.
Crocs. Actually, you would have the Gucci Crocs ones.
But
I'm on the standard. Yeah.
But how different has the industry changed? And like nutrition it still is to an aspect, but like it used to be so strict. And nowadays people want to be able to get their protein in, but also enjoy their food. So I think this brings in that element. Absolutely. Like in that way, like we said, bringing in that protein element, etc. But that's why we have such great flavors, because people actually want to enjoy nutrition.
Yeah.
Because from a perspective of, representing Gen Z, what type of companies would you like to see Body Science collab with in the future? Let's keep it at taste. Not around tech, just taste.
That's a big question.
It's not an exam. You can just drop something, you won't get it wrong.
I'm not sure.
What would you want more of in your diet or your lifestyle that you maybe don't have so much because you want to have the right nutrition?
Being the run club person you are.
I like the aspect of like the quick nutrition, for example, like our gummies. That's a really cool innovation. Like saying like, I like running, that sort of flavor, like playing on that,
So lolly flavours.
lolly flavors.
Yep. Are you a Warheads type person or more of a sweet?
Oh, I do like a Warhead.
Because Tarch,
Very
same
sweet.
category as you.
Very
Super
sweet.
But likes the hacking sour version put on top of it. Like
Likes the fact that
Warhead,
he can
yeah.
have protein in a Warhead.
Yeah,
Mm.
he would be all over
A protein
collab
lolly.
Like that, yeah.
Mm.
What about the breakfast cereal ones, Mark? Where does that come
I like
from?
that. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Do you think
I
that's an
like-
older thing or a younger?
I like to see
Not that I want to put you in the older
Breakfast
category, mate.
cereal.
Sorry.
breakfast cereal, thinking beginning of the day and end of the day cereal, and then maybe a yogurt concept to finish the day.
I mean, you could still
Yeah.
finish the day with some cereal.
Yeah, for sure. If you're doing a carb load, like you've got an event coming up, like
You're a runner.
you got an endurance event the next day and things.
Surrounded by runners at the moment.
Yeah. Definitely. I love the concept of the cereal and challenge for us, isn't it?
And from
Yeah.
perspective of strategically for us in the future, should we be looking at, yes, that's a cool brand, we should do a cool collab with them, or should we be looking at, hey, our consumer is sitting between, 24 to 35 and they play in this area? And do you think and I'm going to this space, Cody, because Violet Crumble was out way before you were born.
Yeah.
It's not a new... Well, you guys learn
True.
about a lot of things by drops and collabs and things that are happening in that space. And you're so digital savvy, you know what I mean? The reason we learn about Violet Crumble is because Mum took us shopping because Dad was working and she dragged me through a shopping centre and I grabbed one on the way through.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we learned about. Whereas these days, it's that brand message just gets thrown at you so much earlier than it did at me.
Mm.
Do you think it's important for us to look at just cool collabs like Violet Crumble, or do we need to look at specific things that will touch you in your gen?
I think it's landing in both, right? Like ensuring that it's fun. But, for example, our protein bars hit a huge demographic, from all the different ranges, from mousse to the high protein, low carb one, now into the soft bar. Like we're playing in so many different areas. And then obviously Violet Crumble, when you're talking in a brand landscape, you want the brand to be fun, but you want to be, it's depending on the audience you're trying to target. If you're trying to target a specific audience, you'll ensure that you're playing to a brand that they like. You're not going to target someone with a brand that they don't understand. Obviously, in saying that, I'm still interested in a Violet Crumble protein bar, even though I haven't grown up with a Violet Crumble protein
Violet Crumble
chocolate.
hasn't per se lost relevance as such for like you said, like most chocolate bars on the market now are established brands, right?
Yeah.
Like
You don't stand the time because you're sitting there doing anyone a favour. You actually sell, yeah.
Like you're aware of the brand. Is it your primary go-to? Maybe not, but to your earlier point, Greg, brands like Violet Crumble are now doing really fun stuff.
Yeah.
They're in milks, they're in donuts, they're in
Ice creams.
custards, they're in ice creams, they're in pajamas. Like
Yeah.
you're seeing them more and more frequently. So
Sure,
they've probably
say that
already
much.
done the hard yards
Yeah.
for us
Yep.
in establishing a relevance with that generation.
And this is a good question, Chloe. Like someone who's, you've managed many brands from Arnott's, Tim Tams, all the way through to beer companies and a whole lot of stuff. Why would Violet Crumble want to license out their brand in these spaces? Is it important for them in their growth
I think
strategies?
it's maintaining their relevance with the
Yeah.
consumer so they're not aging out, right? So they're not just becoming that brand that mum and dad or grandma and grandpa have at their house. Like
Yeah.
it's that brand that I'm going to pick up when I have a sweet craving, or I see it in the petrol station or whatever, I'm going to grab that as opposed to grabbing whatever the newest, launch into the market is. So for them, absolutely establishing relevance and in different consumption occasions, right?
Yeah.
So to Cody's point earlier, they didn't have a right to play with a sports and fitness enthusiast in the past if they were being conscious of, having strict nutrition plans.
Yep.
And that's not, that's not everybody, and that's certainly not the way a lot of the market is going now anyway. There is more permissibility, just generally speaking.
Absolutely.
But they would never have spoken to a heavy protein consumer before unless it's, here's your cheat meal for the week. So I think now it's like, hey, we can be permissible all the time. We can be relevant in your life on a daily basis if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. New consumers, new consumption occasions.
Do you think we're going to bring new consumers back to Violet Crumble as well?
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
For sure. Or re-engaging people. So it
Re-engaging.
might be people that have, say, my Mark's age, who have maybe...
Did you hear how quick my Mark's age? Did you hear how quick that was?
who have maybe eaten, these sort of chocolate bars as kids.
Yeah.
Maybe gone, it's that, you call it as like the church cycle or like the breakfast cereal. You know, people eat them when they're kids, when they're at home. They grow up and they leave home and they kind of go out of that for a while. Then they start having families and they kind of come back into that.
Yep.
It's almost that same sort of thing. It's reminding people, oh, hey, I did love Violet Crumble. So when I want a chocolate bar next time, I might actually grab the Violet Crumble. Or at Easter, I might pick up the Violet Crumble Easter egg instead of the traditional Cadbury Easter egg. Or
I had Violet Crumble Easter eggs this year, didn't you guys?
I was in New Zealand, so I had Whittaker's.
So good. Okay, everyone's voting yes to the future of brands, and the BSc brand is it's collab.
Yep.
It's collab.
And it's no extra pressure on you. Actually think it's easier, Cod. So we need to have a good look at what we can do with you now then. You've obviously got spare time.
No spare time around here with you.
Thanks for coming. It was really good to have like a head of marketing, the person who's running our digital, and Mark, who's a dietitian and also being that person that's been on the front of a lot of helping to sell concepts, to talk about this, because I think it's a really interesting space because everybody wants to collab, but it's actually very difficult to do. A true...
Do well.
Yeah. Execute well.
Yeah.
For sure.
So these bars will be available July in the marketplace, but right now you can get them in Nutrition Warehouse and Coles in the next couple of weeks because that's where those two retailers basically bought all the stock. You can get them at bscsupplements.com. Get on board. Just enjoy the bar. I think it's a great option. So get on board. Thanks for coming on board, you three.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gods.
Oh, thanks, Greg.